Afternoon. Please sit.
Thank you, sir. Yes.
And you also appeared for the CAPF exam,
Yes.
right? What's the CAPF?
So they are Central Armed Police Forces, and they include forces such as the Border Security Force, the SS,
How many are there?
a total of 6, if I can correctly recall, sir.
6 or 7?
I'm not exactly sure of that, sir.
Okay. What's a paramilitary force?
Sir, a paramilitary force can be something like Assam Rifles, that is not as formally organized as the...
What do you mean not formally organized?
It is formally organized. I'm missing the exact detail of it, sir.
Where did you get this idea from that the Assam Rifles is a paramilitary force and the others are not?
Sir, I think I'd read somewhere. I'll correct myself and read it properly, sir.
Second, you are doing something with vision, correct?
Yes, sir.
What are you doing there?
Sir, I work as a mentor there, and I also evaluate copies and work in the research department.
Now, interestingly, UPSC has got its own set of guidelines about what they expect in answer and essay. What are those guidelines?
So the guidelines are that the candidate understands what the question is asking for. There is clear disposition with regard to what the student is expressing. The answers are clearly written and fulfill the demand of the questions.
Tell me 3 negatives, from the perspective of an aspirant of the civil service coaching industry.
So negatives of the industry as such.
From the perspective of an aspirant.
From the perspective of an aspirant, the problem are the high fees, number 1. Number 2 is that overcrowding in the institutes, in the classrooms, that is number 2. And number 3 is lack of safety features and leading to disasters.
And don't you also see a mismatch between what is being taught and what is being asked?
Yes, sir, that is also a problem. So the syllabus being taught by us, a lot of coachings are redundant and not up to date with what the exam is demanding from the students.
Correct. Now, coming to your geography, can you tell me some very unusual geographical phenomena in the country?
In the country, sir?
Localized geographical phenomena which are very unusual.
Unusual. So can I take some time? Sir, I can think of 2 right now. The first can be the pink waters of Lunar Lake. That is an unusual phenomena. The second can be the saltwater nature of the Pangong Tso Lake in Kashmir. Being in a glacial region, it is unusual for a lake to be of saltwater origin.
Anything else that you can think of?
Sir, I can only recall this much.
All right. Now, apart from Mr. Trump, what have been the... Okay, one headline has been our Prime Minister breaking protocol and receiving the Emir of Qatar at the airport. Give me 4 reasons why Qatar is very important for us.
Sir, strategically, the placement of Qatar in the Middle East region, in the Gulf region, and the involvement of Qatar with several key players in the Middle East, such as Israel, Palestine, etc., makes Qatar lucrative. Number 2, the heavy dependence of India on Qatar for LNG makes Qatar important. Number 3, a lot of expatriates and Indian immigrants in Qatar, that is important. And number 4, sir, again the strategic position near the Strait of Hormuz.
And we are also looking for investments. Correct? Now, India has a look east, act east policy. Do we have a look west and act west policy?
Sir, I'm not aware of the exact terms or formal policy, but we have been engaging with Europe and Central Asia in terms of infrastructure, in terms of several policies and agreements, including the infrastructural projects such as the Middle East Europe project.
Now, we take a lot of pride in our foreign policy. One very obvious failure that I can see is Bangladesh. Now, do you think it was, and Bangladesh also had another issue that we failed to foresee what was going to happen. Do you think it was majorly a failure of intelligence or a failure of foreign policy?
Sir, I think on the intelligence level, there were some loopholes that led to this. The fact that there were increasing protests in the country, that led to further imbalance in the region. That is number 1. On the policy front, more affiliation or more orientation towards Hasina-led government was what enraged the Bangladeshi population. So that was also something that Indian government could have balanced. But then ultimately, since it was the ruling government of that time, interests of India were towards the government and not only towards the political party. So that is, I think, also justified.
Now, coming back to Mr. Trump, do you think he has weaponized tariffs? I can actually see a weaponization of tariffs is being used as a threat. Do you think my interpretation is correct?
Sir, I think he has been taking a rather more strict approach with regard to this, but it cannot be called as weaponizing it, because all the countries use it to benefit their own self-interests ultimately, and India has been putting over 100%.
Now that you have said it, we suddenly reduced tariffs on luxury items, including the one Mr. Trump had mentioned in the previous time also when he was president, this time also. What was that? So one particular item. Harley Davidson bikes. Now, do you think we suddenly reduced tariffs on, initially we reduced from 40 items. Do you think we acted under threat?
Sir, ultimately we have more interests in other regions also, and not just economy. On the defense side, if we increase more partnership.
Stick to my question. Did we act under threat?
Sir, I think in a way we may have, but then if we are benefiting at other fronts, it comes down to the fact that we are balancing it out.
Okay, fair enough. My last question, the whole issue of these deportees coming into India. Now, many of them are coming and claiming my turban was taken off, my kada was taken off, and we were treated like criminals, etc., etc. But aren't they criminals in the first place?
So they're not. In a way, if they are entering in the country violating the law, they can be considered as criminal in that country. And it is not only restricted to these deportees, but all the deportees in USA who have traditionally been handcuffed and treated the same way. Yes, it can be treated in a more sensitive manner, but then the traditional law of the USA has been that the deportees have been.
Fine, thank you. Thank you.
You did MA from D School.
Yes.
D School is a famous institution.
Yes.
Can we discuss something on universities, education? You are now currently in Vision.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So about the university's education. Sir.
Recently, UGC has issued some guidelines.
Yes, sir.
As brief as possible.
Mm-hmm. So the UGC had recommended that one member in the state appointing authority of Vice Chancellor's committee should be a nominee of the UGC, whereas the state governments were protesting against it and saying that the nominee should be of the state government, since education is in the concurrent list. This was a point of protest between the center and the states.
Especially which states are against this?
So the states of Tamil Nadu, the states of West Bengal and Kerala are more concerned about these.
What is your opinion?
Sir, I think one nominee as per the center is not a harm, since it is a concurrent list, but more authority has to be granted to the state, since it is ultimately a state university in
concern. This is one part.
Yes, sir.
Other issues of UGC guidelines.
Sir, I'll have to read more on these.
That includes it. Many issues.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Appointment of vice chancellors,
yes,
even
sir.
if they have not the qualification.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I am a science graduate, but I did my doctorate in something else,
mm-hmm.
I can be professor.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So do you agree with this kind of? And
Sir, I think in education in India, which has been very formal and very strict and bureaucratic, such kind of approach of specialized knowledge based education can be accepted, because abroad as well we have these kinds of models. So not having a very strict model of entry into academics, because just having a degree does not ensure quality educational teaching skills. So entry from other fields who have special knowledge can be
open about lateral entry in civil services.
Sir, in certain fields, I think it will benefit as far as breaking the silos in the bureaucracy is concerned, so far as breaking the monopoly of generalists is concerned. But it has to be kept to certain levels where it does not hamper the overall welfare aspect.
You are entering now bureaucracy. What reforms you would recommend?
Sir, I think I would first suggest for reducing the age of entrance. So the entry age, that is number one. Number two, shortening the duration of the exam cycle and more number of cycles in the year, that is number two. In the civil services itself, more specialization. So within IAS, we can have multiple specializations, and a person could be specializing in that for the rest of the career instead of going into different departments. I can think of.
So this is the only. Some other grassroots attitudinal change and training, and so that it's made more effective.
Sir, at the grassroots level, having more neutrality or having less of I cannot find the correct word for
Caste, creed, etc. Yes.
Yes, sir. That is one.
Other than that,
aspect.
not only the accessibility.
Yes.
We can't approach most of them.
Sir, since the digital era, I think the accessibility has increased.
Your
but,
role model in civil services.
Can I take some time to
Yes,
think
yes.
about it? Sir, I think that would be the former Chief Election Commissioner, T.N. Session.
Only one. It's
I'll have
last 75 years.
Sir, I'll have to think of.
Other than those who are not in civil services, but they have contributed equally for national change, their contribution to the nation.
Sir, overall nation as such or regions?
Overall.
Overall. Sir, I think from the civil society, Anna Hazare was the one who had advocated
Okay.
for.
Other than that, that will be very controversial. There are
Yes.
plenty of people.
Yes, sir.
Think on that. Okay.
Yes, sir.
This Korean to many more.
Yes, sir.
So,
Rajat, now I was listening to your discussion on the lateral entry issue. Tell me, a reverse lateral entry of some bureaucrats into the private sector would help?
Sir, I think it is already present in the country, and several bureaucrats already go to the private institutes and benefit them.
Private sector companies,
Yes, sir. They become the heads of private sector companies.
but they don't return.
They do not return.
Yeah. I want, since it's a traffic, one way, so two-way traffic would help or not?
Sir, I think it certainly would. If a person is going from bureaucracy to the private sector and taking the knowledge from there, the experiences from the organization management of the private sector, and coming back with that knowledge and giving to the service, that would be an excellent practice, I would say.
Okay, now when you have to take a policy decision, you have to sit at the top and have an overview. Do you think that the overview of a specialist or a generalist is better?
Sir, at the helm, I think a generalist benefits more, who has to coordinate between the departments. So if it is a coordinating job, a generalist would benefit the country more than a specialist. At a smaller level, a specialist would have more knowledge of micromanaging things.
I wanted to bring you to that only. You said it yourself. The IAS gives you multifaceted, across the board training. One day you are in environment and forest, tomorrow you are in tourism, labor employment, road transport, highways, commerce, law and order, home, whatever. That a lateral entry person can never replace or hope to become that resource. Think again, this might be a question before the board. Now, tell me something about Marathi Sahitya and the writers who are very famous in Marathi Sahitya.
Sir, the most famous Marathi literature person is Pula Deshpande. We also have the Bhakti saints of medieval times, Sant Dnyaneshwar, Sant Namdev, Sant Tukaram, and Janabai. These people are what I could think of.
And who are the people who have actually worked with the marginalized, with the SC communities?
Sir, the chief being Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, the others being Mahatma Jyotiba Phule and his wife Savitribai Phule.
So now you have an interest in street plays, you say. I don't see any street plays anymore. Why is theatre not able to penetrate the attention of the masses as the movie is?
So number one, the structure, the exact nature of street plays, that it caters to a very limited set of people. It does not have a lot of props. It does not have a very good lighting and costumes, is what makes it not as attractive as the movies and cinema. Number two, it is largely present in DU, in the colleges, in the theatre circuit, in the university, and intercollegiate competitions. And some people also try to showcase it on the streets. So in Delhi, the culture is more prominent than in the other cities. But then again, I think street play as a medium itself is for the streets and not for the stage, because it wants to reach to the masses and not to and wants to convey a social message and not just entertain the people. And if we look at the nature of media, it largely works for entertainment. So that is the structural reason why it is not as penetrating.
So suppose we were to say that people are looking not for really addressing the social issues raised through the street play medium and only looking for entertainment. Will I be right?
So that would also not be correct. If that is the case, then we will only have entertainment related events and programs. But we also have social programs, we also have social functions going on around, and movies as well. So largely the market is such that it demands entertainment, but there is a niche market that also demands social based issues and movies.
Tell me the name of a movie which raised a social issue.
Sir, I think the most popular one being Three Idiots. In Marathi movie industry, I have a lot of examples such as Jogwa, which was based on Devdasis in Maharashtra and Karnataka. Second was Natrang, which talked about the challenges in a theatre world of an actor. The third one was Shwas. So I can think of multiple in Marathi film industry.
Okay. Tell me one thing. You've been to Siddhivinayak?
No, sir.
You haven't. Okay. Do you know that the trunk of Lord Ganesh is turned the other way?
Yes, sir. I'm not exactly.
Okay. So now, recently Delhi had a tremor. So, what is the reason that Delhi had one last year also? And is it a pointer to something bigger happening in the future?
Sir, geologically, Delhi sits at the crossroads of several fault lines, such as the Faridabad fault line, the several fault lines passing through the NCR region. And the most tectonically active in the region is the Gurgaon region, which sits on Aravallis. So the release of stress of the Aravalli mountains, which are highly degraded, are what lead to this release of stress leads to earthquakes. So it is not as big as the ones in Himalayas, that is a result of plate collision, but still one such earthquake can occur, as per the scientists, that can lead to mass devastation because of the high density of infrastructure and people in the city. So even though the Richter scale would not be as high as the other places, but the intensity of it in terms of destruction to the property and lives would be high.
What is the Richter scale? How do you measure the intensity of the earthquake?
Sir, it is measured in terms of the primary and secondary waves and the seismicity. So how strong or how frequently the seismic waves are traveling is what decides the magnitude. So how strong they are on a particular scale, and intensity scale is based on the destruction of property visibly seen in front.
One objective you have in mind, suppose you were to get the service you dream of, I will bring this change, what that would be?
So can I take some time to think? Sir, since I have been traveling and my hobby is also backpacking, I think I would like to do something with regard to livelihoods and tourism. So generating more livelihoods through tourism in the rural sectors, as well as place branding all the places that have the potential, so as to provide livelihoods to the women in the villages is what I think I will.
What will you showcase in rural tourism?
Sir, I had written a piece of article on place branding, which suggests that anything unique about a place, you brand that as part of the tourism initiatives, and you attract tourists to the place, and you generate livelihoods, and you augment the income. So it depends on a particular place. So I wrote the article on a place called Chikhaldara in Amravati district, which is a British hill town, and it also has a very small scale strawberry and coffee cultivation. So if we advertise it more and increase that cultivation and ask people to come there, I think that can lead to higher livelihoods.
Okay, thank you, Rajat.
All right, Rajat, how do you think you performed?
Sir, I think I need to brush up on a lot of facts and a lot of concepts, and several key questions I need to have answer readily. The lateral entry question, the question on what change I would like to bring, these are something that I should be ready with the answer.
How many mocks have you given?
Sir, this is the second one.
What was the feedback in the first one?
They had suggested more reading of geography, and the opinion-based questions were fine there.
I think you've got a great personality. You speak very well. And my overall impression is that you do very well in the interview. That's my first observation. Second, of course, geography, because when I also ask you about unusual geographical phenomena, I mean, 8, 10, about half a dozen to a dozen come to mind automatically. So maybe you could have a look. Central Armed Police Forces I picked up from your DAP. So might as well be a bit more sure of what you're saying there. One statement you used, I mean, I could have picked up on that. You said monopoly of generalists in the Indian government. Do you actually think there's a monopoly?
Sir,
and if there is it such a bad thing?
Sir, I think since the government has been advocating for more specialization, for the same reason.
Now, that is the second point I'm coming to. That at least people from the IAS, I mean, the constant in-service trainings and encouragement to specialize is already happening. So what I would want you to do is that just look at the civil service reform that the DOPT has undertaken over time. Because some things you might say are already being done. So go to the website of the Department of Administrative Reforms and Public Grievances, have a look there. One question I noticed was that you could have come straight to the point. When I asked you that India is acting under threat and reducing tariffs or not, you started saying something else. Then I corrected you. Then you linked it up. So try and come straight to the point. Barring this, I have a feeling you'll actually do very, very well.
You're a very good personality.
Thank you, sir.
Seriously, you know? But now you can add something by your knowledge. Yes. And the questions emanating, you are teaching in vision, DU, university guidelines. Yes. So education can be one of the area. Yes. And once it is, so it's a better question of VCs or appointment of lecturer or the professors or the syllabus change. But you be ready, yes, and your sufficient time is there. Second, I could not ask, Amravati is also very famous.
Yes, sir.
Third, recently, last week, which newspaper you are reading?
So both Hindu and Express.
Okay, Express. There was a very interesting article by Gulati and that Sahyadri, Nasik, they have formed a association, and now in the fruit and that very interesting. That we can follow the Amul model in that. Well, frankly, that was very inspiring. If that regional development something is and that as covered by Chairman sir, reforms, whether it is Karam Yogi or whatever, so be ready for that. You will do well.
Yes.
Shubkamna.
Good luck, Rajat.
Yes.
You met again.
Yes.
You want to ask anything?
Yes, sir.
You're doing great. You have something to add. You want to say something?
I just, you know actually what you have to brush up now. There's nothing. And but yes, questions related to Maharashtra, farmer suicides is an issue, is a burning point. The maximum in Maharashtra. So why are the Maharashtra farmers under duress, under pressure? They don't happen. It doesn't happen in Punjab. to this, I mean, 1 or 2, okay, but not to the scale of Maharashtra. There's something seriously wrong there. So when is your interview?
17th March.
March, you have time. You'll go back to Maharashtra, no?
No.
No, you'll be staying here, okay. Fine, other than that, you're good to go, yeah. And when you attempt answering the question, structure, important thing first, then come to the next. And on a question like lateral entry or so, be aware of what is happening, what Chairman said, no? That specialization is already part of this thing. I was sent to do public administration in USA from the government. 40 lakhs they spent on me. Why? Some specialization. So this all is happening.
All the best to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.